Okay, so it's still June 3rd, 2019. Now, this has been boiling since, what, yesterday? It's been a while. I can't even remember anymore, people. What, 1 day, 2 days? More than 1 day. This is the second day. So, that's as far as I'm boiling it down. I'm not boiling it any lower than that. Because what's the point of making broth if you're just going to boil it away? Here is the marrow. It came out of the bone. There's the bone. These bones, I'm just going to throw in my yard, into my compost, into my dirt, and then over a period of years, they decompose as the worms are traveling around them, and they add calcium to the ground. That's what I'm going to do with those ones. You can see the marrow is still in that one. So this is what I was talking about in terms of, I don't know if that's constipating or not. Because I read one article, and I don't know. I don't know. I should have saved the article, because now I'm going back. You know how that is on Google. You find an article, you read it, and then you don't save it. Then you go and you want to go back and look for it, and you can't freaking find it. Because it was talking about the two different nutrients from the two different parts of the bone, and how one is more constipating than the other. Okay, so this one is just the knuckle bone. Right? Definitely you can see more fat. Well, we knew that was going to happen. Right? This all here is fat, which has been incorporated. Well, that actually is from the... Well, I'm not sure where that came from. I don't think that's from the bone itself. That's from the bone. The halibut meat is in here. I noticed that this meat looks different than other meat. I don't know if it's just the type of cut that I got it from, or if it's because of the animal itself, but I don't know. It just looks different than what I'm used to. It seems to be more red, and it just has a different consistency. But again, it could be just a different part of the beef. I don't know. And it looks like that here too. I noticed it's different. But mind you, it's been stewing now for a couple of days. Not as greasy. You can see the difference between them. This one's much more grease in it, which again, Amari needs. He needs these animal fats, right? People need fat in their diet, 30% or something. I don't know. I can't remember what the percentage is, right? And you got to get it from somewhere, and you can't get it just from vegetables alone. Right? And, so anyway, what am I going to do? Well, what I'm doing right now is I'm cut up a carrot here. You can see that. I got a sweet potato, so I'm going to peel the sweet potato. I'm going to put some in there. I'm going to take broth from both of them at this point. I'm just cooling. This one I've turned off. This one I'm probably going to turn off pretty soon. I'm going to cool them down. So in the meantime, I'm going to take half a ladle from each, start with that, start boiling down the vegetables. As they become soft, I'm going to mash them, and then I'm going to top them off with some liquid. Right? And that's what I'm going to give Amari. Now, that's too much. I'm just making a little extra for tomorrow. So that tomorrow, all I have to do is take it out of the fridge that's already cooked up and just add a bit more beef broth to it. Or whatever broth I have at the time, right? I'm going to take out some of this. I'm going to mash it up into that so he doesn't even notice it, right? The fat will just come in on the liquid with this, so I'm not too worried about giving him any fats because it's already in the liquid. Where this one doesn't have a lot of fat. You can see that. There's hardly anything there, right? It's a different kind of liquid. What does it taste like? Let's see. Kiss. Not as rich as what I made the other day. But I tasted earlier the two of them, and I found that I like this one better. And more than likely it has to do with the fat, because it's the fat that has the most flavor. I've said that before. So we're going to see. It has a different taste. Where this one is, I would say, I wouldn't say sharper, but it's almost like it's sharper. Where this one is smoother because of the fat. Right? Although it's not as tasty as the one that I made the other day. So, I'm still missing something here. But I don't want to overwhelm it by adding carrots and, what I'm trying to do here is just get the basic beef broth so that I can put it into here, and then I can always flavor what's in the pot separate from disrupting the whole pot, because, right, that's what I'm thinking. So anyway, let's do this. Hold on. Okay, so moving along, what I did is I took out 2 ladlefuls, and they're not very big ladles, of this. I just went like this. But before I put it in the pot, people, I strained it. Because, it could be a small little sliver, right? You just don't know. And so anyway, just to be on the safe side, I ran it through there. Obviously, those are good nutrients, but, I could put my finger through that and then, have it go in. But I'm not anal about all that because I've got this. This is the marrow, right? So, because I've got bad eyesight, because I don't want to have to really start, right? I'll just take my magnifying glass with a flashlight. It's my eyes, people. And I'll take a little look. I'll touch it very gently. It looks fine. I don't think there's any bones at all in terms of little slivers. And then here's some of that beef. It's falling apart. You can see that. So what I'll do is I'll take a sharp knife and I'll make it very, very fine. Because this here little bit of beef, oops, sorry, it's not very much. It's not even a tablespoon. Right? Just a little under a tablespoon is going to end up going in here after it's been it's very fine, people. It's very soft. So I'm just going to cut it up smaller than that. And then this, let me taste it. Well, tastes like beef. It's actually not that bad. And that's what I'm going to, after that's cooked and the liquid is replaced, because I'm not trying to make a mush. I want liquid, right? So I'm going to cook these in liquid. Then I'm going to mash them. Then I'm going to see what kind of consistency it is. Probably going to top it off with a bit of beef broth. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to flavor it with yet. And then after I've got that done, then I'm going to throw that in there. And that should be enough. Well, again, overfeeding him is not good. That might be too much. It might have to go into 3, right? 3 servings or even 4 servings, depending what happens to it after it's been mashed. Because, he would eat it. But the thing is, is it better to give it to him every few hours versus 3 larger meals a day with a yogurt or whatever it is, right? People, I'm going to try and go with the smaller portions more regularly throughout the day, right? So it doesn't matter what time it is as long as you kind of get on that schedule. So because it's so soft, you don't have to break it up any more than that. But the meat itself is going to have to be cut. Now, here's the thing. This is very high in, what is it called? Minerals. There's a whole list of them, right? I printed it out. I don't want to read right now. See? So now you're going to bring that just to a boil. And then you're going to turn it down. You're just going to simmer your vegetables to soften them up. This here is high in minerals and vitamins. Right? I can't see. I just know there's a whole list of something there and a whole list. They're 2 separate groups. Right? I think it's vitamins on top and minerals on the bottom. And if it's like if you eat too much of one particular mineral or one particular vitamin or whatever it is, you can seriously harm yourself. That's why you got to be careful when you take supplements. vitamin supplements, because if you take too much vitamin supplements in the wrong amount, you can get too much of something in your system that can actually severely hurt you. So I'm like a little worried about this, because if I'm bringing in more dense foods in terms of with the minerals especially, right, and he's getting one of these a day on average. He doesn't get them every single day, but we try to give it to him almost every day. And he can suck them back because he likes them because they're sweet, right? I don't know what they put in them. There's a strawberry flavor and then there's chocolate flavor. I don't know if it's real strawberries or if it's artificial, but when you go and you read what the ingredients are, you don't understand half of what they're saying. Honest to God. Where is it? I can't see. I have my magnifying glass around here. I think this one's English, right? This one's French. But more than half of what I read, I'm not familiar with. So I don't know how the two of them are going to react with each other. I mean, for a pediatrician, I can understand why he would prescribe that, because to tell a caregiver to go home and start cooking up massive amounts of beef broth or chicken broth or whatever broth you're going to make and, blah, 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 blah. I mean, some people might not do that, people. Maybe some people can't afford it. Like, I'm a poor person, right? Technically, I can't afford it, right? But, who goes off and spends $45 just in bones alone, just so that you can try and do this on a daily basis? And then, of course, I'll switch it up. I'll, after I do a big beef for a week or two, then I'll go into chicken. I don't make fish stock, but I might attempt to try it now, because you get different fats, and you have to use different fish. And you don't cook fish as long as you would these ones, because, especially fatty fish, because if you cook it for too long, a fatty fish, it becomes rancid. It does something. I don't know. So, and then, of course, when you put the vegetables in there, the vegetables are going to seep their own juices into it, which is going to make it even tastier, because I can already start tasting the difference. So hold on. I'll be back. Okay. Anyway, I got this camera really positioned precariously here. Okay? It can fall at any moment. But anyway, besides that point, you can see what I'm doing here, right? So there's no real rhyme or reason behind it. In other words, you can be creative and do your own way if you're interested in doing something like this. Oh my. This liquid is boiled down quite a bit. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the nutrients went out into the air? I don't know if you can see that. I'll show you in a minute. Or did it get absorbed into the vegetable, which obviously some of it did. So what I'm doing right now is I'm mashing the carrot, because it takes a little longer to get soft, real soft. What's soft for us isn't necessarily soft for Amari. So I mashed it. Now I'm going to put it back into the pot. But before I do that, I'm going to show you how much liquid is left compared to what I started off with. And then what I did here, I'm trying to see. Where's the camera? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. All right. And whenever you can, use a silver spoon or a silver fork, because that is another element that the body can benefit from. So even in minute amounts, as in with cooking, you're going to leave a little trace behind. So anyway, there's the marrow. I took a knife and I chopped this up real fine, which is just kind of falling apart on its own. This I'm going to keep as is, because it's deteriorating on its own anyway, because it's sweet potato. But what I want to do is take this mashed carrot and put it back in the pot, add a bit more liquid in there, and boil it for, simmer it, right? Hold on. Simmer it for a little longer. with a bit more liquid in it. So you can see how much already went away compared to what I started off with. That's not even a ladleful. So for some reason, 2 ladlefuls, which were small ladles, has dissipated. More than likely absorbed into the vegetable of some kind. I don't know where it went. So anyway, we're going to just put that back in there. Hold on, I got to turn this off. Actually, it doesn't need very much more liquid, other than I just want to cook. That's quite nice. If you look at that, right, he'll eat that. By the time you put that in there, right, and then you just have that, and then you feed him, and then every now and then, because it's soft and he can kind of chew, right, you give him a whole piece so that when he eats it like that, it's not like all mixed in with everything else. He gets a nice chunk of a sweet potato, right? Whereas this stuff is going to be mixed in with here with the broth, which should help to lubricate. I'm giving him the beef, people, because I'm not trying to deprive meat from him, right? I want him to grow, but I do understand that, you know, maybe in some ways he takes after Shimei in terms of being very lightweight, but he'll continue to grow. I don't know. So in the meantime, that's not very much meat if you were to divide that between 2 to 4 meals. It depends on how much we get here, because again, I'm not trying to overfeed him. So let's just stick with what I'm trying to do here. So we're just going to add a little bit more juice. We're going to use the marrow one. I can take a little bit from both. So you can see that's just straight up clear juice, broth. I'm going to add it in there, and then I'm just going to bring it back up to a low boil just to cook those carrots for a little longer for him, right? This is being done specifically for him. Do you see how long it can take just to make one meal for him? For him. Because some of this might be too much for his stomach to digest, right? Still. The sweet potato is really, really soft. The meat, well, it's a hit and miss, you know, but it will be so dispersed in with all the other food, it shouldn't make much of a difference. And as long as, what is this called, the marrow, as long as the marrow itself isn't constipating, right, which, even if it was, there's really not a lot there to space out over 1 or 2 or 3 meals, right, but the nutrients are there, and that's what's important. Now, I took out the bones, took out those bones. Those ones are going in my garden because they're great for the garden. There's that meat. Still don't know what I'm going to do with it. And then I'm taking out, I'm letting everything settle. What's happening here is I'm letting everything settle because obviously bones are heavy, so more than likely they're going to settle to the bottom. Doesn't matter the size. And then I'm going to take a, a different kind of ladle with holes in them, and then I'm going to take the surface marrow, put it in a separate pot, like a separate bowl, and then I'm going to strain the broth just to be as an added measure that there's no bones in it. This one is still cooking. I may leave this one for the night because I don't have a lot of room in my fridge right now, but all in all, tomorrow, because I'm getting tired, people, it's already 8 o'clock. I've done two sets of taxes. I have Shimei's to do, I have mine to do, and Sierra's really should be done, but I don't know, shit's going on with Sierra that, people get a hold of Sierra, and like I said, it's not a good situation. So, Sierra is pending. I don't know what's going on with Sierra. So anyway, as you can see, this is cooking here. So I'm going to just cook this down because I want the carrot to be, if this was in the oven and the carrot was in the roasting pan with the chicken, it's going to be cooked differently than if you were to just simply cook it on a stove and think that it was fully cooked. Okay, that's the difference. So I'm just going to cook it down. If I have to, I'll add some more juice just to keep this consistency, right? Because he'll eat that. He's a pretty neat little eater. He doesn't make too much of a mess. Now, as a final touch, just to say, oh yes, and then after I get his bowl ready, it will be in a bowl, right? And then what's going to happen is, look at my little cows. See these? Those are those fermented pickles that I made. Those fermented cucumbers. So I'm going to give him that much on the side, right, with the juice. It was not like they're very runny, so you'll see, like, they're runny, right? So the juice will go in there, so that fermented juice will end up going into whatever's on his plate, and he'll eat that, and this is good for him as well. Haven't done anything with the cabbage. The cabbage is still sitting there, you can see, right? But anyway, these are good. So he gets some of this. This is fermented, homemade with the salt water, right? It's been in the fridge. So there, now you can see what I'm doing there. So we're just going to boil down that carrot, break it up a bit more, right? Because the carrot would be the hardest one to digest outside of the beef. I'm a little leery on the beef, but, he doesn't get that very often, so, I want to give it to him, right? I mean, the last time, what did I do? I don't know. It was chicken with beef. But beef itself, he hasn't had beef for a long time, so I'm going to give him a bit of beef with this after. You'll see. Hold on. Okay, so as you can see, I strained this pot already. That was in there. After, wash your hands, poke around, whatever. Take out what you can. You can start with the fork and then blah, blah, blah. Right? And I put all that marrow in here. There's the marrow. Here's the beef. Okay? That's the marrow broth. Now I'm making Amari's plate. Okay? If you notice how I'm doing this, I'm taking this sweet potato and I'm keeping it like that because we want to encourage him to chew, but we want to give him foods that he's not going to choke on. So you can adjust the size to what you think, if you're dealing with a special needs child, what they can handle, right? So, Amari can handle a little bit, but you have to be careful, because it's always frightening when children choke. Nobody likes that, right? And then, over here, I took that marrow and that beef, and I mixed it in here as that liquid went down. Now, you can eat it just like that. Tasted it already. If you notice, it's a silver spoon now. It's tasty by itself, but if you want, you can take, like, this is a beef-based soup, right? Whatever. Just as a little tad more. Here, I'm going to add a bit more liquid. On a scoop anyway. Because I want those fats. Right? And then I'm going to take just a little bit of this. Not very much. And I'm just going to put it in there. Stir it around. Because it just has that little extra flavor. I'll taste it. If you need to, you can add a little bit more. Instead of using salt, I use that because it's kind of like beefy taste. But so that's perfect the way it is. Hold on a minute. Okay, so now this is how I'm going to finish it. There is some fermented cucumber that I made. You can see it has a bit of juice, right? And what that does is it's supposed to help his gut balance with probiotics, natural probiotics, right? So I just added a tad bit more broth, and now I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to pour it right on the side, juice and all. I've already given him this cucumber already once before, and he ate it. So anyway, so now do you see? He's got his carrots with the meat and the marrow, with the enriched beef broth. In this case, we're using beef bones. On this side. Over here is the sweet potato that was cooked in the broth, but kind of somewhat in chunks, maybe a little smaller than that one. Again, an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. So something like that, that's easy to chew, he can chew, and it helps him to learn to practice, right? So he's got that. Plus, he has the individual taste of just eating it by itself with a bit of gravy in terms of the broth. Or if it comes into contact with the juice, with the fermented pickle, because that juice is right in there now. So, and this is one portion, right? Is that too much? I don't know. This is his last meal of the day, and it's already 8:30 because we've been spacing it out, right? He just had a Pediasure an hour and a half ago, so, right? So now he's getting this, and then I probably won't give him any milk. Instead, I'll give him a small bottle of commercial juice because I just found some in the freezer when I made room for the bones. The ones in the can. So I'll give him a bit of that just to top off his dinner. So that's one serving. It's probably too much, honestly, in terms of feeding him every 2 to 3 hours. If you were to give him that amount of food every 2 to 3 hours, that would be too much. But I want him to have a full tummy, and if he wants to eat it, I'm going to give it to him because I trust that whatever I've done here should be easily digestible. That's what I'm hoping for, people. So I'm going to just now upload this because there's really nothing left to say other than, I don't have a very big counter space, right? My kitchen is small. It's congested. I got a lot of crap in here, doing a lot of stuff. I don't have a porch, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is, because I'm tired, I'm probably just going to let this stew all night long. I'll turn it down with the lid on it. This I'll put in the fridge. I'm pretty sure I can make some room for that. And then I'll strain that one tomorrow. And then what will happen is I'll combine the two just for the purpose of convenience at this point. Right? I will I'll go through this by the end of the night, make sure there's no bones. I will end up adding that directly into the stock after the fact. The meat will go into separate bowls and decide what I'm going to do with that later. I'll figure out what's in there. Right, and then because I have so much, I'll probably put them in either 1 pint jars would be fine in terms of like putting them in the freezer. I'm not canning them because I want to use them all the time. And then maybe I'll just leave a pitcher in the fridge so that I can drink a cup a day. And then maybe tomorrow at some point in the afternoon, like this one here, technically, I should be putting in because it has less fat, right? But the fat will come to the surface and I can skim it off and then I can heat it up tomorrow. And I really want to try just giving him straight up broth, people, in a bottle and see if he'll take that. Even if I have to cheat and add just a pinch of something else just to give it that little extra flavor, that we know that, you want more. So anyway, there you go. That's a hard day's work since 8 o'clock in the morning until 8:30 at night. All that just for that little bowl. But I have now for tomorrow, do you see? I have enough for 2 more meals at least. At least 2 more meals. So I can stretch that out over the next 3 days. Right? And if I run out of sweet potato, all I have to do is add it, cut a little more and boil it separate. Or do a yam, do a parsnip. Right? Hold on. Okay, so he ate it all, people. He really liked it. Pickles and all. He ate it. If I was to give him more, he would continue eating. So tomorrow he'll get more because he really, really likes it, right? And it's already almost made. So I gave away those dog bones. Well, those bones. I took I was watering in the garden and somebody was out there with a dog, so I noticed this time, I don't know if it's the way they cut the bones or what, but these bones, they disintegrated. Look. Right, because I gave them all away. I took them out of here for the most part. I didn't do these sharp ones, right? And then I did a couple of those marrow bones, but there's really not much in there, right? But anyway, so this one here, I'm just going to turn it right down and cook it on low for tonight. Add a little bit more water. This one's going in the fridge. The pickles are, the fermented pickles with Amari are a success. He ate everything in his bowl, and he could probably eat twice as much, but it's better to give it to him in smaller portions throughout the day than, you know. And if what I like about this, people, no sugar. No sugar. None. The only place he's going to get a bit of sugar now is I'm going to give him a small bottle of juice just to wet his whistle. Right? And then it will be a night. I'm not even going to give him a bottle for bed. I'm going to give him a bottle in about a half an hour. Right now he's sitting up on the couch with Andre. And I'm just giving a chance for his food to settle down. And then, like, the juice is a commercial juice, so, you know, I can dilute it a little bit so he gets more water than the juice, right? I mean, I could pull out a jar of apple juice and give him that, but it's okay. There's already juice in the fridge. So anyway, this is the end of this video, okay?